Hello and welcome back to my channel and welcome to Stamp With Me. So this is a little bit of a hop or a collaboration that many of us do on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays of the month. I usually participate on the 2nd. And I think I may have participated once also on the 4th, but I generally only able to get one a month done, but it was instigated by my lovely friends Scrapping Amy, who is One Mommy Scrapper here on One Mommy Scrapping, I should say, here on YouTube, and Miranda Weber. And the idea behind it is just to get us using those stamps and using those stamps on layouts. Now, let me show you this. Oh gosh, I'm not sure. You might be looking at this and going, oh my God, I'm turning this off now. What on God's earth did she do? But there you go. So I took inspiration for this layout from a lot of lovely and beautiful creations. And then I guess I just created some sort of mishmash of a layout. So I'm really not too sure. But you know what? It's done. It's in the books. It's certainly different, and hopefully you will think it's original. Anyway, where this all started was with Scrappy Kathy. In our February Secret Not Secret Kit Club party, her challenge, her Getting Messy challenge, was to redo or to go and get something half completed and complete it, or to rework a layout or a background, or build upon a bit of a background that we had already created. So it was a very, very versatile challenge, and she had created a beautiful, beautiful background. And that got me thinking about a background that I had created back in the fall. And I think, in fact, this background, I went into a fair amount of detail on one of my Freeze Friday videos. So I'll actually try and find it and link it down below so you can see the original background. And this was a background that I created when I was rewatching and catching up on the Vicky Boutin Friday Night Lives. And it was a gorgeous, gorgeous background that she had created with some black gesso, stenciling, and some of her art crayons. So back then I created the background. The original background had absolutely no stamping on it. I don't have any black gesso, so I used regular gesso with some black acrylic paint, I think, or maybe just black acrylic paint. I can't really even remember at this point, but I will find that video and link it down below. I also used my lovely Vicky Boutin stencil that I did. And I remember when Vicky created her background, she had a 12 by 12. This is her foundations paper. And she really did this entire beautiful background just on the one side. But I really wanted a little smaller cluster over here on the right. And then once I had done those two, somehow I felt I needed to add even a little bit more. So, you know, it's one of those things that you just keep adding. So the original, I got my gesso with some black acrylic paint. And then I used the Vicky Boutin iridescent glaze, just the basic sort of shimmery iridescent glaze through the stencil on part of this side. But then I also went to get the is it rose gold? Yes, the rose gold glaze. And I added that in a couple of places. And I added the rose gold glaze over on this cluster. And then I just happily put some rose gold glaze in between these two on the background. Then I went in and got my Vicky Boutin crayons. And I used a wet paper towel or a baby wipe and just added some gorgeous shimmery color on the iridescent glaze that I had put through the stencil. So that was my original background. I talked about it, and I even showed a few pictures that I wanted to do. They were of Chopin, and people gave me ideas on which pictures to use with it. And then I just, for some reason, put it away and forgot all about it. And during Kathy's challenge, it got me thinking to this background. I dug it back out, and then I decided to do some stamping on it. Because I felt, I don't know, I think the way the background went, I wasn't quite too sure how to build the layout. I felt there was a little bit of white space that didn't really belong there, but I didn't want to add more mixed media to it. So I dug out this ink road stamp that I had. I had used this though before, so at least this is not something that was forgotten in my stash. I had used it, but I don't use it very often. So it's an ink road stamp, and it's just all sorts of circles. And I used these two, the sort of just outline, messy outline circle here, and the messy, more filled in circle. And then where I got the idea of this stamping is from One Mommy Scrapping, one of her Stamp With Me layouts that I think she did last month, where she had some gorgeous little feet that she stamped sort of going off the page. And I remembered that, and I sort of wanted to create sort of that little chain idea. Now, I'm sorry, Amy, this really, I don't know. I don't think I certainly did not do your beautiful stamping justice, but there you go. So I took these two stamps and I just went merrily to stamping and filling in areas that I felt needed filling in so that I would have a little bit more of a complete background without pouches or pots of just white space that didn't look as though it belonged. So there is the background, and this is what I did with my stamping this month. I got these out and I just happily went along. Some of these are second generation stamping. They overlap, and my idea was just to create a little bit of a chain and to tie in some of the mixed media areas together and to finish off some of the areas where it just sort of like dropped off to white. And once I got that done, I said, all right, I found this photo of Chopin, which is not, I don't think, either of the, or it may be one of the photos that I had shown in the original video, because the colors match. There's sort of this rose gold, coppery color, off-white color in the background, and then of course my Chopin, who is a very charcoal color, although he's starting to get a little bit gray, my little Pookie. And I went into, because the other thing, when we were doing our Secret Not Secret Kit Club party, one of the 10 items we were to use that weekend was a paper pad, and so I went to get my Again and Again and looked through that and figured that it matched this kind of background perfectly. So I used some scraps that I had left over from another layout that I did using the Again and Again. A couple of the paper that I used here as the background, because I did gut my paper. I washi taped it. And I sort of made some triangles and then just pieced them together to create this rectangular shape in the back that is popped up, and I just sort of puzzled them together to create a little bit, so to give it a little bit more of a geometric feel, because the back here was all sort of circular, a little bit more of a geometric feel, but still be a little whimsical. I also popped my photo up on foam, so I've got a double layer of foam here. And then I went into some of my stash, some old bits and pieces of chipboard that I had not used. This is from Fancy Pants Designs. I think it was one of the family collections. This here is from a Pink Fresh Studio. It's a frame. So I cut pieces and I just tucked those behind here, tucked it here. Now you can see here that little area, but it really doesn't bother me. This is 2 pieces of the frame. So I basically got that entire frame on here. Got these pieces of chipboard. This is also from Pink Fresh Studio, some wood veneer. And I brought the blue in here because there is a little bit of blue in the rainbows here, and of blue in with the Vicky Bruton crayons that I used here. So I wanted to bring that in, and just did a little bit of a deconstructed area of embellishment here. So they're not really clusters, just a little bit of deconstructed embellishment with some cork, some chipboard, this little kitty here because Chopin is on the photo. And I called this simply Hotel Cornwall because this is when we went on a little bit of a vacation to my sister from another mister's place in Ontario. And we were there for 4 or 5 days last summer. And one evening, Deb and her dad went off. We were going to the Highland Games on the Saturday, and the night before, when we had just arrived, Deb and her dad were going to see some of the music. And I'm a little bit of a wuss. I'm very early to rise and early to bed. I was afraid it was going to be a little bit too much for me to be out very late and then to spend a full day. So Chopin and I just sort of watched some tennis in the evening, hence Hotel Cornwall. And there you go. And then I went in to get these lovely wooden dots, Bare Basics from Papermania that my friend Helen from the UK had sent to me. And I popped those here a little bit in some areas as well. And there you have it. There you have, dare I call it, an eclectic and whimsical layout? Or is it just a big old mess of a background? You tell me. But there it is. I did it. I've got my stamps out. It's in the album. When I first finished the layout during the party, I thought, oh my God, no, I'm not going to share this. I'm just going to put this in the album and forget I ever did it. And in all honesty, the more I look at it, the more I kind of enjoy it. It makes me smile in a way. It's certainly not going to be among my favorite layouts, but there you go. Got my stamps out, got my mixed media, played, and had fun while I was doing it. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that we scrapbook, as well as the memories, as well as the creativity, is just to have fun playing. And I had fun playing. So thank you for joining me. Don't forget to pop on down below and follow the links to all of my friends who will be stamping on their projects today as well. Thanks for being here. See you soon. Bye.